This week, OpenAI released a whole series of new updates and changes to its Chat GPT platform. So, I want to take you through one significant change and how I think it will impact higher education. So, join me as Charlie builds a bot or two. So, what people are used to is the standard Chat GPT interface, which is a generic interface, which means it's not designed as a specialist tool. I'm on Chat GPT 4 because I'm a paid user and it's got some additional features I won't go into here. So, what people are used to is they'll engage with Chat GPT, they'll do some rounds of discussion with it, and it'll generate an output. But it's still a generic tool. The update that ChatGPT did this week was to create the potential for specialist bots that you create, you own, but also you can share with other users as persistent bots. So let's explore that for a moment. So you can see here, I've got my GPT, so I can create specialist versions of ChatGPT for specific functions. So let me just talk you through two of the different bots that I've created. So the first bot I've created is called Archie, and Archie is designed to help me search Advanced HE's website. And the reason is, as an organization, we do a whole range of things across the United Kingdom and globally. And we do this at multiple levels. So we put out advisory documents, policy documents, we commission people to write reports, we create resources, we have blog posts, a whole range of really complicated things. And so I have no memory personally of what was created in the organization before I joined. So often I'm not even sure what I'm trying to search for on our website. This is a very common information retrieval problem. So Archie is designed to help me search our website. And let's just have a look at how I constructed Archie. So when you create your own bots, because I've already created Archie, when I go back to the build page, it's actually asking me questions about how to improve Archie based on what I've done. If we go into the configure tool, which is more complicated, you can see name, description, and the instructions that I've given Archie about how I want it to behave. So I want it to be user friendly, give me concise updates. You can also see here that I can create, and you can see them in Archie on the right here, conversation starters. Now, the reason you have the conversation starters is this may be a bot that I deploy to other people. So I deploy it to other people, either via a link, so only people with the link can do it, or when the GPT store becomes live, I can make it publicly available in the store. The thing to note about Archie is I'm not breaking any organizational confidentiality or GDPR because all I'm asking Archie to do is search our public website. The other things to note about this, and I'll show you a more specific example, when you create the specialist bots, you can get them to search and understand knowledge that you own in an organization. I can also create the bot to search the web, generate images, and interpret code and data. I'm just going to click on this add actions for those of you who are more technical, but I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. So on the actions tab, for those of you who understand what an API is, I could also connect my bot to APIs. If you are a non-technical user, all an API means it's a very effective way to access data from other organizations. Many organizations create APIs so that you can connect your tools to their data. And the bots that you create here have that ability. Now, from a higher education point of view, you could already potentially see some really interesting uses for these kind of bots. One of the perennial issues for many institutions is their websites are full of things that are contradictory because as policies change, people forget to take down pages. And when I used to deal with complaints, academic appeals, and so on, often the appeal was based on the fact that the university had published data and published information that was incorrect. And I had to deal with the fact that we were supplying information to students that was wrong. So Archie is a specialist search bot. Let me show you a slightly different tool, and it will give you an idea of how this could be used. So, Jolly Fellow. My reminder, these videos are my own personal statements. They do not represent a position on behalf of Advanced AG. They are not policy statements. They're not strategy statements. They're not forward-looking statements about future developments within the organization. These are purely personal videos. I am currently writing my Principal Fellow application for the PSF, the Professional Standards Framework. And the thing to note about that is I have started the application a while ago, and I'm slowly building it up. If you are unfamiliar with this, the PSF is an accreditation scheme for educators to indicate their proficiency and the impact that they've had on the sector. Principal Fellowship is the highest level within it. So I have created Jolly Fellow to help me. Let's have a look. So Jolly Fellow is a bot that uses the standards to help people apply. I am not releasing this publicly. I'm not going to use the outputs of this for my application. I'm using it as a tool to understand how these tools work. Hopefully that makes sense. So you can see I've written prompts here, and I'm going to show you the outputs of one in a moment. And the thing is, over time, I'm training the knowledge base of Jolly Fellow. So I've uploaded the guidelines to the PSF. I'll probably upload some other technical documents about PSF. I might add in applications that people have written that have been successful that they've shared as part of the knowledge base. And the idea is that this is a persistent tool that's only designed for this one purpose. And so, to give you an idea of how Jolly Fellow works, here is a chat from yesterday. Sometimes at the moment, by the way, ChatGPT is a bit wonky because so many people are trying to access it. So, this is my draft application. So I started working on it to the 2023, the new standards, and I've said to Jolly Fellow, this is my current draft. Can you read the case study I've written and suggest improvements? And so it's gone through the case study that I've already written, and it has it's gone through it, looked at the dimensions and the values, and suggested where I can improve them, but also where my text directly links to the dimensions and the values. Interestingly, I do need to reprogram Jolly Fellow a bit. It gets a bit confused about what a dimension is, but I can work on that. And the other thing is, the other way Jolly Fellow could work is, yeah, as I've said, it's struggling a bit at the moment for capacity. Hold on. No, it won't do it. So as I've said, there's capacity issues at the moment because so many people are using these tools. But the point that you get from this is that Jolly Fellow could be used to help me generate this. What does that actually mean for us? There are some obvious applications of this that I think we will see become widespread very quickly. The first of these is if we think about the research frontier, tenders and bids. There was a report this week about the low success rate of bids. People will train bots to assess their applications. They'll build a knowledge base using the criteria that is released by the Funding Council, and where available, they will use previously successful bids, either their own or other individuals' bids, which are publicly released, that is, to create a bot that will help them create, hopefully, more successful applications. I also think another application of this within the research front, which I'm slightly worried about, is I can see how research groups may create a series of specialist bots to create effectively a factory production line to increase their ability to turn out papers at speed. I could see a PI working with research assistants to create 4 or 5 specialist bots that when they create new outputs, they run the papers through each of the specialist bots to speed up the production process. Ramifications of that are potentially workforce intensification. The peer review system is already buckling. I'm not sure how long it's got left in this sort of world. The alternative way to think about it is more and more peer reviewers are likely to use AI to turn around reviews. But that in itself adds to the workforce and workload intensification. As people produce higher volumes of paper, peer reviewers turn around peer reviews more quickly because they're using AI tools. I think we'll have to recalibrate and reconceptualize what do we want from research outputs and what do we want in terms of the human input into the process. So I think that is one area we're going to see some rapid change. The second one is from an administrative and quality perspective, I can also see how individual institutions and sector agencies, for example, may use bots to assess their current outputs, their current regulations, quality assurance processes, and suggest changes to those. I think there's some really interesting things that can be done with bots on that front. Now, I've been accused a few times by people of being some sort of AI booster. Eh, I've got all sorts of issues with the use of AI and what that means for the human in the system. But these videos and what I try to do are effectively a pragmatic take on what I think is going to happen, which may not coincide or align with my own personal views on what should happen. So, hopefully, this has given you a bit of an overview of the current state of the art with bots. I didn't touch on students at all. So, I'm sure we're going to see all sorts of interesting things happen in the near future. I hope that helps.